Hey guys, so I just wanted to make a short video about keeping the faith while being targeted. I know this is brutally difficult and it can wear anyone down, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, especially when the attacks are spiritual in some cases. But just remember, whatever attacks come, very similar attacks were done to King David. That's why so many of us read the Psalms, right? Because, he was followed, he was spied on, some people tried to poison him, there were lies and slander, and even his friends and family got involved. And, same thing, right? But now, of course, with the technology that exists, that type of attack has taken on, it's been amped up a few thousand levels, right? It happened to Jesus too, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that all targets are being targeted because they're holier than thou and perfect people and saints and elect, and no, they're not all that way. In fact, I have never met one saint in my life. I'm not a saint, right? But some targets, some of them are certainly being targeted, probably because, and I'm not going to say because they're part of any specific religion, but because they do have faith and they do understand the word and they love the word. And remember, Jesus was the word made flesh. He might not be flesh anymore, but he is still the word. And his word was as simple as the golden rule, right? Don't do unto others what you would not have others do unto you. Right? Treat others the way you would want to be treated. Same thing, right? Everything else is based on that. Everything. Okay? Those who already love that and understand that, they love him. They have the word in their heart, and therefore they have him. Jesus and his word are the same. They can't be separated. Those who love his word love him. Those who hate his word hate him. There are many people in this world who claim to love him, but because they hate his word, they hate him. Look at what they do to people. Look at the horrors and the atrocities they commit upon others, and the lying and the scheming and the conniving and the false accusations. But they say they love the word. No, they hate the word. And when they claim that what they're doing is of him, they're lying. Okay, they're lying. They've replaced the word with the opposite, the anti-word. And likewise, there are many people in this world who truly love him because they love his word. They've had his word in their heart all along. They just don't realize it because of the twisted version of him that we hear from these so many brutal, cruel individuals who commit atrocities in his name. Okay? Understand, anyone can call themselves anything and say anything that doesn't make it true. Anyone can make a statement and follow that up with, thus saith the Lord, right? But that doesn't mean God actually said it or agrees with it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be disliked for this video. It's okay. At this point, my life is already being obliterated. I may as well just put it out there and let hell come. So, right. Back to targeted individuals. A lot of things we're going through are things that happen to biblical characters, some of the prophets, right? And to Jesus himself. Now, again, I'm not going to say that all targets are followers or love the word. Some are probably wonderful people and some are not. But for all of us, all right, we're being blamed for our own targeting, and there's going to be some excuse. There's going to be some excuse used to twist it around on us and blame us for our own targeting. I'm going to list in another video all of the ways that can happen, but the worst, in my opinion, is the religious excuse. Okay? It seems like the dark ages are upon us again, right? We have these people masquerading as true followers of God, whether they're Christian, Jewish, whatever. I haven't met a lot of Muslims who do this, but who knows? They're probably out there too. Right? Why give them more credit than anyone else? They're human too. You have these people who claim it's to just be so holier than thou, and yet they engage in these horrific crimes against other human beings. Okay, they hunt, they stalk, they terrorize, they lie, they slander, they falsely accuse, they set up, they entrap. They try to drive people crazy. They go along with the same type of attacks that happened to the prophets, right? They'll try to drive you crazy. They'll come into your home and move things around and leave a window open. They've done that to us. just so that you get home and you find that. And what do you report to the cops, right? Oh, someone came in and opened our window. Well, what are the cops going to do, right? They'll send you they'll send you to a psychiatrist. It's meant to sound crazy, and it's meant to drive the target crazy, to eventually discredit the target, right? These are horrific crimes against humanity. These are crimes against God. No one who does these things is following the word, okay? And for just for the record, the golden rule was in the Old Testament too. I don't remember which prophet it was, and I should have looked that up before this video, but one of the Old Testament prophets said the same thing. Everything, treat others the way you would want to be treated. Everything else is based on that. Every other command. Okay, so they'll do these things, all right? And horrific things, and then they'll point their finger at their victims and say, and they'll blame their victims, and they'll tell us that, well, it's our fault. If we were right by God, this wouldn't be happening to us. So what have they just done? They have just given themselves a biblical excuse, falsely, nonetheless, to justify attacking and destroying, torturing, tormenting other human beings. That is what they just did. Okay, they're doing that now. So looking at the past 2,000 years of history, the bloodshed that has been, committed in the name of religion, is it hard to understand how the masses allowed that to happen, right? And you consider whoever is ruling things will always need a scapegoat group, because they need someone to shift to shift all of the negative attention of the masses onto. They need some target to have the masses attacking, so that the masses are not attacking or even noticing what these rulers are getting up to. Okay, and the target's always going to change. Sometimes it'll go back to the same target group, but it'll change, throughout generations. But there's always going to be some target group, right? And it's unfortunately very easy for the more intelligent but evil rulers to manipulate the less intelligent masses. But that's what they have to do, though, in order to, for example, destroy all dissidents, stop opposition to government policies. What do they do now? They get the masses to destroy their own, their own fellow citizens, right? They to just gang up on them and destroy them. They get the population to destroy any free thinkers, anyone who might oppose the current regime. With targeting, it's no different. It's like that with religion. It's like that with targeting. And it's brutal. Okay, when you have someone who's committing all these atrocities against you, and then they're pretending to be righteous by God, and then telling you that you deserve it because you're not righteous by God, even though you love the word and you're actually trying to follow it and they're not, it can be brutal. And it's in times like this where, first of all, a lot of people, as I said, don't even realize that they love Jesus, because they love his word, but they don't realize that he is his word, right? If they love his word, they love him. They don't understand that. So these are the humanitarians. These are those who have compassion and mercy and seek to help people and defend those who don't, to speak for those who don't have a voice, and to defend those who need a defense, and to help ease suffering. Okay. These are those who love justice and righteousness. They love the word. Many don't know it. They think that they're enemies of the word because they're constantly being, told by these monsters that they are enemies of the word, by these monsters who commit atrocious acts against others and claim to be, righteous followers of God. This will break anyone's faith. But when you're also being targeted, when you're also a targeted individual, it is extra destructive, because you really, at that point, you need to hang on to God more so than many other people. And everybody does, but you really need help at that point. You really need support at that point. And they're trying to take away from you that one source that you have left, and that is faith in a higher power, because they're using the higher power to justify what they do to you. And it is sick. It is perverse, right? And I think about, I talk sometimes about why I converted to Christianity. Now, I was born and raised Jewish, and, around maybe 11-ish years ago, 10, 11 years, it was a while back, and it was 07, 08. How long ago is that? I don't know. I did convert to Christianity. It was in a Baptist church. And, before that, what happened was, and at first I thought, well, and I don't remember, because there were weird things going on that happened before that, but the real targeting it happened. It's the worst of it started after that. So at first I thought, could this be part of it? It is, this happened, the worst of this started after I converted to Christianity. Could this be because of that? But looking back, this started before that. It just wasn't as overt. It was more subtle. And I had no concept of organized stalking. I had no concept. I didn't know what Zerzetzung was. All right, I might have heard of COINTELPRO, but I probably didn't do that much research into it. I didn't know that these things actually happen. I thought, even when it got worse, I thought this was just a bunch of trolls online who got their social networking buddies involved. After a while, I realized that they couldn't be alone doing this because this is too massive. But, at first. So, but before I converted, the reason I converted, and I talked about this in another video, I was living with my mother, and there were issues. There was, she kind of needed a caretaker, and, no, don't get me wrong. This is not, she lost everything. My mother, she's worked hard her entire life, and she has lost everything because of all of this. And I'll go into that at some other point. But there were issues before. So what happened was these people would just keep coming to her, and they would claim to be Christian, and they would try to tell her that her entire unconverted family would be used by Satan to try to hurt her. And so she started distancing herself from her friends, from her entire family, and from me. And see, the problem was I was the only one there, taking care of things at home. So this made things really difficult. So, for example, she wouldn't eat, and in order to get her to eat, I would have to make something, but she wouldn't eat it because she'd be afraid that Satan would use me to hurt her. Okay, but then if I didn't force her to eat, she wouldn't go and get food herself, right? And then she was losing a lot of weight, and at one point I called her doctor, and I asked if we could have a 3-way meeting because this was getting serious, and the doctor was nice about it. She said yes, but then a few days after that, my mother said she got rid of that doctor and she's seeing someone else. This is the crap we went through. So I figured, all right, I'm going to call my mother's pastor because she had converted to Christianity at that time. That was before I did, and right away he didn't take me seriously. He insinuated that he said something. Oh, I'm so. It's nice to see. He was very insulting, and he then went right into preaching. He said she wasn't too thin, and then he went right into preaching and preaching Jesus, and pretty much it was an accusation that my intent of calling was not righteous, right? And so at that point, I understood what she was dealing with and what she was hearing from them, and why, because she was very gullible and she listened to them, and because we already had issues, it was we've had issues for as long as I can remember. It made it easier for her to believe this crap. So things went on like that, where she wouldn't eat, and if I tried to make her something, she wouldn't eat it because and then she would accuse me of trying to hurt her because, oh, why would I possibly make her food if I wasn't trying to hurt her, right? This is the twisted reasoning, right? But if I didn't make her something, she wouldn't go get it herself. So then I started going out and buying her things, spending all the money we had, pretty much buying her stuff, from a restaurant or from wherever I knew she would eat the food. And then of course she would pick at it and pick at it and pick at it. And it was like that with everything. Like I couldn't do anything without being accused of Satan trying to use me to hurt her. She hoards paper. She's always been a hoarder. So, in the building, I was the young one. I was the one who was supposed to be taking care of this mess and cleaning everything up and making sure everything was neat and clean. So someone would come in, if I tried to clean everything up, she would get angry at me and accuse me of being used by Satan to hurt her. If I just let her keep building the papers, and not clean it up, people would come in and wonder why all these papers were there. Why wasn't I cleaning it up? Why am I allowing her to gather this mess? And they wouldn't even say, why am I allowing her? They would say, why is this mess here? And it must be my fault, right? If she would lose something in her hoard of papers, she would blame me for trying to clean up the hoard of papers, right? And then of course, blame Satan for using me to do that. It was a damned either way situation. It was brutal. And she was very easily manipulated. So these people kept coming and doing this, and the more influence they had, the worse this got, and the more paranoid she became. And I was the only one there taking care of her. I didn't have other family members to rely on at the time. and I don't now. It's hard. So I converted to Christianity, and I thought that would make things better, and it didn't. Once I converted, they found other excuses. Now they have a whole other excuse that didn't even exist back then. Okay, I didn't know that how long this was going on. Now looking back on it, I think that this targeting started long before I thought it did. I thought it started with that fight online because that was the point where everything just changed. Everything changed. But no, looking back, it started before that. To some other crazy things that happened too. But the point is that it is spiritually draining. And I, even though I did convert under duress, I like what Jesus said. Once I actually read the Bible and, read what he said, as opposed to what some of the wolves in sheep's clothing say and do in his name, right? I like what he said. So I don't regret converting. But it's still a constant spiritual attack. You have someone, you're living with someone 24/7 who is constantly hissing under their breath that Satan is using you and talking about demons and Satan and just hissing under their breath 24/7. And you're a 24/7 caretaker. You don't have any help. You can't get away. It's hard enough as it is without all of this going on. Add the stalking to that and the attempts at, by the perpetrators to infiltrate and cause more trouble in this manner. It is brutal, right? And again, today it happened. One of these Christians no. Christian means follower of Christ, and this person pretends to be a follower of Christ, but is not. She just called up, and from the moment they started, it was, is your family this? Is your family that? Are you making sure that Satan hasn't, used your family to do this and that? And then, how's that kid of yours? Is this going on? Is that going on? Oh, that seems suspicious. So it's still happening, and it's still brutal. And when I see, my voice is cracking today, I'm sorry. I think I'm getting a cold. When I see the number of atheists out there, especially among, humanitarians who truly do have a good nature and they have the Christ nature in them. They just don't realize it, and it breaks my heart to see that happen, because they are they're the ones who truly love the word, but they're constantly told how evil they are. Whereas those who commit atrocious crimes against others are called righteous and good, and this is again another difficult video to make, because it's combining two parts of life. And targets have lives to live. We have lives to live. Our lives don't consist solely of the targeting. We have a lot of other things going on. So when these issues merge, when targeting merges with other aspects of life, combining that and making a video about how both interact together, it can be difficult to put that together. And I'm going to try to do that a bit more, just so that people, either onlookers or actual perpetrators, understand what they're doing, right? Then when the targets start breaking down and you see the target breaking down, understand it's not just because you rubbed your nose or made a certain comment. Okay, there is so much else going on that you don't see and you don't hear. Okay, the target wasn't just overreacting because you made one comment. You have no clue what else is going on, what that comment is linked to, and so on. But anyway, this video is about keeping the faith. And I've rambled, haven't I? Just remember this. Jesus was the Word made flesh, but he's still the Word. Okay? He's no longer flesh, but he's still the Word. And, the Word is simply the golden rule. It really is that simple, but the human mind is not simple. The human mind will lie to itself to justify itself. So that's why you have these people committing atrocious crimes in the name of God. And that's going to get worse. Okay? I've experienced this right now. People justifying their abuse and even torture of others on the grounds that, well, the people they're abusing supposedly aren't right by God and therefore deserve it. It's happening again. It's starting again. As this gets worse, and it will, remember Jesus himself said that these times would come and that they would be so horrific that, the liars and the manipulators would eventually just wear down the elect with manipulation. And that it would be brutally difficult even for the most elect to overcome, but those who can overcome, well, we'll be victorious, I guess. I've got to find that Bible passage. I know it's somewhere. Don't lose the faith. Know who you are. Know who you are, and know the people around you. It's not just what they say, it's what they do. Okay? If they claim to follow God, but then act mercilessly toward other human beings, especially, those that they have nothing in common with, most people can, on some level, have some empathy for those who are like them, but it's hard for them to empathize with those who are living opposite lives, which reminds me of the Good Samaritan, right? Don't just have mercy on those who are like you, okay, your brother, your sister, but try to empathize with those who are in opposite situations. For we have a life to live. We have our own struggles. Try to comprehend that this goes beyond your little role in it, and there's no small role. But we react the way we react because something horrible is happening. Okay, if you're part of that, please take a step back and consider what you're doing. If you're a target, on the other hand, keep the faith. Don't let them try to twist this on you. Don't let them try to convince you that this is happening to you because you deserve it or because somehow you're wronged by God. This is what happened to people who were prophets of God. So just don't let them take your faith. If they can take your life, but that's not what they want. These people want to conquer on every level, body, mind, and soul, if that be possible. Don't let them take that last part. Peace.